Hello creators, how are you guys? It's great to hang out with you again for another Video Creators Podcast episode live stream where we're going to help you get to your 10,000 subscribers. This year, 2020, is the year that you want to grow. It's the year that you want to make things happen on your channel. You've been looking at this thing for a while thinking like, you know, if I just did this or I just did that, then maybe I could breathe life into this thing and start getting to where I want to be and start getting those views, start getting more subscribers, making more money with what you're doing. And perhaps you've already started. We're about halfway through January here. And we want to make sure that what we're going to do with you today is help you actually reach those goals you have for your YouTube channel. If you are getting started, you're a small creator, you haven't hit those first 10,000 subscribers yet, this is the right place for you to be. And we're going to give you guys an exact step-by-step strategy that you can follow and go through that's going to help you get there this year. But I'm not going to help you by myself. This is Lennon. If you're watching the live stream, you can see him on whatever side of me that he's appearing for you. So, hey, Lennon, good to see you, man.
Tim, it's good to be here.
Lennon. So, Lennon, for those of you guys who don't know, he's one of the strategists on my team here at Video Creators. Works with a lot of our high-level clients on an ongoing basis. Also runs video lab sessions and does one-on-one consultations. And overall, just kind of works real hard to make me look good. So, thank you, Lennon.
It's a pleasure, yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to add to your, you know, that job, just the thing in your job title that says includes but is not limited to? Like that clause gets you.
It's not limited to.
It gets you every time.
I guess I have a big passion for music. I was a musician first, so I did touring for about 10 years professionally, and just transitioned over into this space. And working with creative people is super fun. I just love like seeing people have breakthroughs. So this is honestly a great job. I love it.
What Lennon's not telling you guys is that he's actually a former rock star turned YouTube star. And so he is, he knows all about being a star.
I had my 15 minutes of fame. That was all.
15 minutes. That was like 10 years of international touring, wasn't it?
Yeah. We did a lot of touring. Yeah.
Yeah. So 15 minutes, AKA 10 years, whatever. Well, now we're going to talk about YouTube channel, and we're thankful for Eric from Modern Day Tech. He's moderating today's live stream. All of you guys who are in the chat, it's good to see all of you guys here with us. Jad Gaming, Harley, as always, good to see you. Debboy43, My Non-Traditional Life. I could go through all these. I can't even keep up. Max, you're going too fast. John Spike Explorer. It's good to see all of you guys. So Eric from Modern Day Tech, his channel just hit over 11,000 subscribers. So congratulations, Eric. You can now disconnect his everything we say here. No, I'm kidding. But congratulations, you hit that milestone. His channel focuses on simplifying your life with tech, and he hopes his research and his trials and tribulations will help you and your family make your tech decisions easier. So, plus he tries to help his viewers save money with discount codes and deals and things like that for tech. So that's awesome, and appreciate having you here, Eric, and helping us do that. Modern Day Tech. You guys check out his channel. So Lennon, when it comes to growing from 0 to 20,000 to 10,000 subscribers, let's go through that process here. And those of you guys who are listening to us in the live stream, ask a ton of questions. Put them in front of Eric, make his like fingers start cramping by the end of this, just like taking all your questions, and he's going to put them in front of Lennon and I here. We're going to dive into them here in just a few minutes after we briefly take you through this 5-step process. So Lennon, what's step number 1? How do we start this thing?
Yeah, I mean, the reason I want to kind of start with the first thing, which is mindset. The reason I want to start here is that this is often something that I see a lot of creators overlook, and I've modeled this whole little teaching here after the most common things that I see as I'm working with one-on-one clients. So if I'm doing consultations and things like that, and I even had one this week where a guy was trying to start a channel, couple videos, like, where do I start? And I think that things need to be thought of in this order because YouTube is becoming more competitive. So it's really important that we get really clear about our messaging. So I'll often see people put content or some other element first rather than the mindset or some of these other things that we're going to get into. And then they just feel defeated. They feel like all of a sudden they have to start over because they've just been spinning their wheels. And if you are in that place where you're having to like step back because you're having to make some changes to get more clarity, I just want to give you permission to not worry about where you've been, but just think about where you really want to be, because that is really the most important thing here. But those of you that are starting from scratch here, mindset is the most important thing to me to get started. You have to believe that what you have to share with the world is worth hearing. And I truly believe that what you have to share with the world is absolutely worth hearing. Like, we believe you can change people's lives with this platform, and we know that you can do the same for other people. So when starting, you only need to think about what's working and what's not working, and not so much about what other people are thinking. You just are going to have to get into the mindset of doing some work, getting real clear with what you're trying to do, and start think of yourself as a business, even if your goal is just to be an entertainer, or if you ultimately want to make this sustainable, you have to think of yourself as a business. Like, money may not be the end goal, but we need it, right? We need it to sustain what we're trying to do. And for me personally, like, I actually had a real issue with money because I come from a family where it was really tough. We were always kind of scrambling. You know, I came to this realization that money was something and so it's a goal. And I think and I also think that you should think of yourself as a leader. Like, if you can really think of yourself as someone who is leading someone somewhere, and you understand where you're leading them to, you're really going to be able to develop a great relationship with your community as you start to build them. And then one thing I heard, because a lot of us creators, we struggle with this resistance, right? And I follow Jasmine Star, and she said something that I thought was really brilliant. She said the resistance will exist either way. So whether you're sitting around on your butt, like, with what you wanted to do, if you're doing that, you're going to feel this resistance of like, man, I wish I was just doing what I want to do. This job sucks. I just want to do what I actually am into, what I'm called to do. Or whether you're actually leaning into the thing you want to achieve. And on that end, you know, you often feel like, okay, I'm working so hard, but things aren't there yet. And there's that resistance on that end as well. Just like, I'd rather be on the right side of that resistance. I'd rather be on the side of the resistance where I'm actually making forward progress, forward motion toward the thing that I really care about. And we want to give you the permission to be you and to worry less about subscribers and more about the process. And so that's kind of the whole thing there.
Yeah. So when people are thinking about mindset and how do they go about, like you said this, I think it's so important that, like, here at Video Creators, we believe like you can change lives with this platform. And so our mindset, everything we do kind of revolves around helping people reach more people, and not just for the sake of popularity and views and subscribers, but ultimately using those things as tools to reach more people and impact more lives. How do you figure that is for you? Like, that's what it's for us, but we don't expect that to have everyone to have that. So could you, like, what are like 1, 2, maybe 3 places, like, or is it something that you kind of already know and you just need to, like, feel free to dive into that, or what?
As far as like what your ultimate goal is, kind of thing?
Yeah. Like, when you're trying to set this mindset, what your goal is, what you're trying to reach, like, if you're just like, you know, like how do you figure out, like, there's a surface level goal maybe of like, I want to grow my business, which is a very valid goal. But then there's like this deeper thing I feel like you're kind of poking at a little bit. And I'm kind of wondering, like, how do we go to like one layer deeper? Do you have any ideas for us on that?
Yeah. So one thing that I personally started to do, and we're actually going to dig into this a little more, is I started to dig into what unique experiences that I started to have as a person. And once I started to figure out, like, you know, for me, I had a lot of, like I said, a lot of issues with money. I had a lot of issues where people that I was working with were sort of bringing me down on that side of it. Also, as a producer, when I was doing a lot of that work, you know, I saw a lot of musicians make the same mistake where they just felt this like, okay, I've made this thing, now what do I do with it? So what I realized is that my passion really became like, how do I educate them in a way that helps lift them up as a person. And so I just started to notice these patterns. So this is going to be different for everybody, but like when do you feel yourself getting like activated? If you're talking about something to somebody and you get like heated about it, or you get excited and you want to like dig into it, I think that's a good place to start to look as to like where your motivation sort of comes from intrinsically.
Yeah, one of the things that my wife is starting is this new thing called Reclaiming Motherhood, and we've been working through some of this for her. And some of the questions that we've thought through is like, what do we want these people, like our audience, to be able to do in a year that they can't do that they can't do today? Like, what do we want them to learn from each other? What do we want them to be doing differently as a result of what we're doing? What do we like? How do we want, in terms of like a story? How do we want the character to be transformed? And so that's kind of like, it's one thing to think about, this is what I want to get from my investment. But I think what you're saying is like, but you also got to think maybe more about what are you going to give, and what transformation do you want the audience to actually have, and in a way that is like unique about you and that your talents and gifts and abilities, something that you get really excited about. And so that's a hard place to like really, like, it's one thing to have an idea, but I think it takes a lot of digging to get to this place where like, oh, that's it. Like, I feel it. I'm super excited and passionate about it. So, yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Cool.
Honestly, it took me over a year personally.
Oh,
so,
and I've changed mine here at Video Creators 3 times so far. So, yeah, for sure. All right. And then you got the mindset, and then, okay, what do we start working on next? Step number 2.
Step number 2 is the audience. So we talk about this all the time. You talk about this all the time. This is who your channel is really about. Like, while you may be sort of the main character and you want to incorporate yourself into your channel, if you're thinking about how your channel is, what your channel is bringing to someone else, then that's really the most important thing. If you're not thinking about that, ultimately, like, they don't care. There's tons of opportunity for people to see good content, get good value on the internet. So if we're not ready to give that, then we're kind of in trouble, to be real. And so one of the things that I do with all of our clients here is I'll ask the question, like, if you think about, not even on YouTube, like, think that right here next to you, like sitting to your left, you had one person, and that person was the ideal person that you wanted to see your channel. Like, what do you guys talk about? What are the stories that they want to know about you? What are they into as a person? What are they interested in about your life? Or what are they interested in about your knowledge that you could teach them about, and get real detail about this person? I feel like often when we think of a target audience and a target audience worksheet, we'll like get so, I don't know. I feel like as creatives, we get really nervous about, okay, there's all these details I have to have, but just like, think about somebody sitting next to you and describe them. What do they like? And honestly, like, the common mistakes we see are people will look at the analytics and they'll say, well, I'm getting this kind of audience. I see 20 to 60-year-olds, and, so make sure you're really thinking about one person and not having too broad of an audience in mind.
Yeah, it's really important that we know this person's story, not just like age, gender, geographic location, and some like really generic information. Our videos often play the role of the guide to someone else's story. So they're coming to our content, whether it's like an entertainment, the problem they're solving is boredom, or maybe it's a perceived relationship, or maybe it's like education and you're teaching them something and then helping them overcome something. Those, like, knowing what they're trying to overcome, what problem they're trying to solve, helps you craft content that becomes the perfect guide that they need to overcome that. So it's I mean, again, I could use my wife's Reclaiming Motherhood stuff we're working on here as an example, but like when we surveyed the audience and just asked a lot of like simple questions about who you are, what's your main problem, what would be a number 1 win, what would that look like for you, what's the biggest thing that's holding you back, that kind of stuff. then we got to really know this person, and almost so like we could almost give this person a name. And so when we develop content now for this channel, we know exactly who this content is supposed to resonate with. And so we can craft it exactly for them. Even here at Video Creators, like I run that survey about once a year to find out what you guys who are listening, what you guys are like. And it changes every year. The questions, the problems, and the way you talk about things, the way you even phrase different things that you're trying to figure out changes. And so like, it's not something you kind of like just have this presumptive, like I know who my audience is. Like Lennon said, that's kind of like the one thing that when we get into consultations, we end up spending a lot of time here, not because like we're just planning to necessarily, but when we ask people like, okay, this is your audience, how does this video connect with them? Well, that's actually for a different kind of audience. Like, well, that's part of your problem right there, So yeah, drilling down is super important.
I think, and I had some people say, guys talk about is if it's just a close friend, and what are they interested in about you and your story, rather than looking at analytics. Like, create that story of the ideal person there for you.
Yeah, cool. And then we get into value. Step number 3. What do we got to do here?
Well, I've kind of split this up into two realms. So I'm thinking in terms of channels, I'm thinking in like education and entertainment. So let's start with entertainment. So I think value sort of comes from 2 places. We have functional values and we have emotional values. So functional values would be things like, helping somebody save time, providing somebody money, giving somebody, reducing their effort, things like that. And then the emotional values lean more into motivation, making somebody feel hopeful about something, helping somebody achieve like personal goals, fulfillment, things like that, right? And so I think entertainment channels are going to lean more into these emotional values. So how you're making somebody feel. Maybe they lean into building a community or providing some sort of access to themselves as a part of that. But still, I think as an entertainment channel, you're going to want to meet your audience sort of where they are emotionally at times and be able to bring them along on that story. So we talked a little bit about the idea of unique experiences, like, what have you gone through that you've had to overcome if you're an entertainment type channel? Like for me, it was having a mom who was an alcoholic who dealt with abusive relationships, and I was trying to figure out what a healthy marriage looked like for the first 5 years of my marriage. Like I didn't even know, because I'd never seen that. This was also like part of my story is like being able to travel as a touring musician, but then, realizing that me sort of having these 2 separate lives in order to live out what I thought was my dream was actually me kind of being selfish and like not allowing myself to really understand what my full potential was. And those things have real value because they connect with people on a one-on-one level. Somebody out there, one of you guys listening, probably has some sort of a similar story in some way, shape, or form, or at least similar enough to allow us to connect in some way. And those are the things that really allow us to create, again, that perceived relationship that we talked about, right? So, and then as far as the education is concerned, these are going to rely on more of those functional values, like saving someone time, saving somebody money, reducing their effort. But I would argue that even these educational channels should still have elements of emotional values as well. Like, your experiences are really what gives you authority in any niche and what allows someone to stand out from somebody else. You authentically being you is what's going to differentiate you from someone else who also teaches math or who also has a channel on, toy unboxing, whatever it is. Like whatever your story is really is what gives somebody that context on why you do what you do.
Yeah, the story provides meaning. It provides, like you said, context for us to understand where you're coming from. Like my story, a lot of you guys know I was a youth worker for 12 years because I really love seeing impact and life change happen in people's lives. And then I realized as my wife and I, we had this YouTube channel and it was growing. I was like, oh, wow, we're reaching 1 million people a month here and having just as much or more impact through YouTube than I ever saw in like 12 years of vocational youth work. So I mean, a lot of things happened, right? But ultimately, I ended up doing YouTube full time, not just because of other life situations and circumstances, but because I was like, man, this is where you reach people and change their lives, and marriages that were healed, people who weren't committing suicide, and like people who are changing their standards for dating and all that. I was like, what? Why is how? Okay. So knowing someone's backstory provides a lot of context for the education. And like you said, the value for the entertainment is that it's like often an emotional one. But I think we need to remember that for the educational part to work too, if all you do is give people like the cold, hard, dirty facts of like we've been working with food channels a lot. At least I've been working with more and more food channels lately. And a lot of them are just showing you the straight up step 1, step 2, step 3 of how you assemble ingredients together. And if all you want is like someone to watch some of your video, get the idea of how you assemble this thing and never come back, that's what you should do. But if you want to grow the channel, it's not really just how you assemble the ingredients, but it's how you prepare the table as a busy working mom for your family so that you feel like you're doing a good job as a mom. Or it's how you spend less time going through drive-thrus and more time preparing healthy meals for your family. Or it's like I did one last week that was a really fun one, where she is a professional chef and she has a whole channel dedicated to how to plate food, like plating, and how to make it like just look super gourmet with simple everyday meals. So it's like you can already cook the mac and cheese, but if you want it to look like gourmet mac and cheese, you do it like this, And I was like, oh, like she wanted to help these passionate home cooks not just cook food for people, but do it in a way that gave them more confidence about displaying it and serving it to other people. So like she told me her story about why that's important to her, about her parents, her grandmother being an immigrant from Ukraine, and her grandmother didn't have anything, but somehow like cooking for other people and making it look very presentable meant a lot to her as a girl growing up. I'm like, you got to tell that story. Like that now that helps people connect with you on an emotional level. So when you show them the how-to thing, it's not just about assembling like this food stuff that you're making to make the plate look delicious, but it's actually how you are like people are emotionally connecting with you. And that's why they're going to come back and watch more videos from you and get all their plating training from you, and as opposed to just random videos on YouTube. So anyway, yes. Make sure you have the story, both educational and entertainment. It's like, if you want more watch time on YouTube, it's not because you use the right tags or keywords. It's because people got emotionally engaged with your content. They kept watching and they wanted to watch more. That's what it comes down to, the story. Sorry, I feel like I'm preaching there. Woo.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's we've hit it, right? I mean, that's those things we talked about. Like, you get fired up about it. It's a good thing. And somebody asked about like a gaming channel in the chat. I think it's the same. It's gamers to me they ride the line of both entertainment and education, depending on what they're doing. And so you still have to have your own story wrapped up in what it is that you're giving out and putting out into the world. So
yeah. So my favorite gaming stories were like when digging into it, this is gonna sound therapeutic because sometimes our sessions are consulting sessions do feel that way. But there's one where the guy's like, you know what, I'm in a dead-end job. I work in a cubicle where other people tell me what to do all day, and they're just pushing papers across my desk, and I don't like it, and I feel like I have no control over my life. But when I go home and I sit in front of a video game, I feel like I have control over life and death. I feel like now I'm in charge. I make the rules, and I can do what I want to do. Like, I get to live in that different world. And I'm like, so really what you're doing is you are reaching a bunch of people who don't love the story that they're living and are going to a fantasy world to experience the story that they wish they were living. So like there's a whole story and value proposition behind that for a gaming channel. I'm not saying that's everybody's, but of course, but for this person, like digging into it, like they're like, oh, wow. And so once he starts pointing that out and putting his finger on, guys, this is what we do as a gaming channel. This is why it matters. Anyone else who feels like they identify with that is like way more attracted now to his content and his channel than they were before, because it's the emotional connection and the story of the value that they're providing. So anyway, I could do lots more, but go ahead. What's next? We got to get through this because there's a lot of good questions coming in. So yeah, so the mindset, next audience, value, and then what?
Content. So this is the stuff, right? This is the meat and potatoes of all of it. So now that you understand your ideal audience member and your values, both functional and emotional, we've talked about that, right? Now it's a lot easier to think about what kind of stuff to make. But I want you to start with these questions, okay? Question number 1, feel free to write these down, not if you're driving. You'll maybe have somebody else take it. Number 1, what does your ideal audience member want? What does your ideal audience member want? Number 2, what do they need? Because often they need different things. Number 3, what do you want? Number 4, what do you need to journey, this your journey on YouTube of you making content, right? And this is a great place to start mapping out some content ideas. So like, let's say, we're talking about a channel, excuse me. Yeah, let's go back to cooking as an idea here.
Let's go back to the questions again.
Easy recipes.
You broke up through like all the questions, and so we didn't hear all of them. So let's go back.
Of course. All right. Gosh, I got to do all this again.
Yeah, question number 1. What is it?
Number 1, what does your ideal audience member want? Number 2, what do they need? Number 3, what do you want? And number 4, what do you need to feel fulfilled on this journey of YouTube, right? So taking your ideal audience members' wants, and you may, if we're talking about cooking, you may be able to do like, oh, they want fast recipes, but what do they need? Well, they may need to understand some other fundamentals of cooking. So there you've got 2 different content ideas of like, let's give them a really fast, easy recipe, and then let's also give them some basic fundamentals of cooking so that can start to pair together, right? And then what do you want? Maybe you want to more of a certain kind of story. You want to go into restaurants and tell the insider part of the industry, and for you to feel fulfilled in your creative journey, you may need to make content sometimes that really digs into that sort of stuff as well. But if it fits under the umbrella of your what and why, or your value proposition, as we talk about, which we didn't really get into here, then it's okay. Like you can have all these pieces of content fit underneath that, and it still totally works. So we think about these content things here at Video Creators in 3 buckets. I'm sure you've heard talk about this. Number 1 being discoverable content, so anything that allows your channel, your videos to get surfaced to more people. Number 2 being community, and that's allowing somebody to get to know more about you, allowing you to connect deeper with your audience. And then number 3 is sales. So this would be anything that takes people off the platform, and just letting, if you're offering a freemium, something for an email list or things like that. And we're not going to go into a lot of detail on how to make money through your channel, but sales content is still really important, right? And some easy ways to start making money is like maybe Patreon or affiliate marketing. Obviously, AdSense is something people are thinking about, but I just want to encourage you to think more along the lines of, can you build out courses, or do even brand deals from the sense of like, think outside the box. Like maybe your content is delivered to a small audience, but maybe there's a local business that would just love to get your stuff, like their stuff, in front of your audience, right? Think a little smaller as you're smaller, and then grow with that. And that way you may find that there's money to be made that you didn't even think about, right? So even for me, something that I'm doing is trying to host more meetups locally and things like that. And, I think these are things that people can start to do just to develop community and authority in their own markets as well. So, start to build local events that help you build your authority in your niche. And, don't feel like you got to catch the big fish first. Sometimes you got to catch the bait. That's what I think.
That's right. Yeah, this content thing is so important. I was tweeting earlier today, I think it was, this morning, with someone who was like, I really want to turn this into a full-time career. And so instead of publishing like 1 to 3, 4 videos a day, I'm publishing 8 videos a day now. And he's like, I just need to get more ad impressions, get this thing up. He sent me a graph of his analytics and he showed me like, this is where I started publishing 8 videos a day. And I'm like, it looks like it's on the same trajectory as it was before. So like, so are you finding that it's working? And he's like, yeah, my ads are up. And he showed me, and it went up by like a little bit, but like a couple dollars. I'm like, you're doing twice as much effort now for a trajectory growth trajectory that kind of looks exactly the way it did before. And so the issue here with his content was, I was like, producing more content isn't going to solve this problem of like wanting to go full time on your channel. The problem is that you don't have a good model for capturing value. So you can work really hard to create and deliver value, but you need to capture it as well. And that comes down to a business model, not just like trying to go after another 0.02 penny view somewhere. So, yeah, so thinking about discoverable community and sales and going into a lot of this stuff is really important to evaluate, rather than just spinning your wheels over and over again and getting the same results. Yeah.
Yeah, and somebody even mentioned, I think it was Elemental Universe, said that they move, so they don't have a local following anymore. I guess more when I'm talking about pairing your branding with a local business, like maybe that local business is trying to get more of a national audience. Maybe they offer their products online. So don't feel like you have to be really refined to one thing or another. Again, just think left of center. Like, how can I start to make my stuff available to somebody in a new way?
That's right. Cool. Let's talk about the last step here, and then we'll dive into questions.
Yeah, so the last part here is analyze, rinse, and repeat. So I would say, when it comes to your analytics and digging into that stuff, I'd say once a month, go through and look at stuff to see what's working and what's not. And the reason I say once a month is because I think commonly we see people looking at the analytics too often. And so they get into this kind of wormhole that can be a little dangerous, honestly. And you start to feel like the algorithm is working against you and all of these things, and so it's better to just kind of take it a lump at a time. And don't be afraid, like don't be too proud to make changes in order to make content that serves your audience better or gets you surfaced more. I'm not saying that everything has to be discoverable. That's what we're talking about here. Like, you may have to play the game somewhat, but play it in your own way. You're totally free to do that. And I wanted to give you my top 3 analytics that I think would serve you the best. And the first one is click-through rate. So click-through rate is when your video has an impression or somebody sees it, what's the percentage of people that actually click on it after they've seen it, right? So, and what this tells us is, are your title and thumbnail actually describing the problem that you're going to be solving in the video and letting the viewer know how they will be transformed after they watch it? So the click-through rate is really, 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 really important, because it's just letting us know like people are actually clicking on the video. And then the second is audience retention. So you guys hear us talk about watch time all the time, right? So are you keeping people involved with good hooks, good story arcs, good information, and all the way to the end of the video? So we're not talking about average audience retention, which is something I hear a lot of our viewers say, or a lot of my personal clients say when we're doing consults. I'm talking about like at the end of the video, how many people are still there? What's the percentage that are still there when that end screen comes up? So don't look at average, look at the actual graph, and you can hover over that line in your audience retention there at the end and see what percentage is remaining. And then the third thing is clicks per end screen element shown. So this is saying like once people have gotten all the way through the video and they see your end screen, are you giving a clear and convincing enough call to action that pushes people to the next piece of content? Are you letting them know Now that they've learned this, it's really important that you also know this thing. And I've actually discussed it here in this video. Please go check that out because I think it's going to be really valuable to you. Are you selling them on that next video and why it's really, really important to them? Because we know that the more you can keep people on the platform, the better your videos are going to do.
That's right. I just put a link in the chat for you guys if you want to dive into your analytics, because you can discover a lot of opportunities for growth there. The audience retention graphs, for example, like Len is talking about, can really help you identify what you need to cut doing, stop doing, or keep doing more of. And so a lot of really good, helpful stuff there. So check out that playlist if you're interested in diving into it more. I like analytics because this is going to sound bad. I probably shouldn't have started saying this, but now I have to, because if I don't, everyone's going to be like, what? Now you have to say it. It's like with my kids. I'm like, hey kids, guess what? What? Oh, never mind. You probably don't. No, I wouldn't know. You know? What I was going to say is, like, it's not too uncommon when we do a consultation with a creator who's like, the algorithm's against me, I'm doing everything right, and the YouTube's just holding me back. Like, why is this not working? And then we get into their data, and then you can typically see, like, right in there, like, oh, here's what the problem is. Like, the data doesn't lie, or here's the issue, or and they're like, oh, I never looked at that before. I'm like, okay, well, I'm glad you're looking at it now. That's what's important. So you guys can find stuff in there, super helpful data YouTube gives us. And if you're not familiar with where to start, check out that playlist. And if you're listening to the podcast later, you can find that link in the show notes. I'll make sure I include it there. Let's dive into some questions here, Lennon. I got a lot of good ones. Cool. Let's talk with, I think, my favorite question. Not that everyone else's was like not good, but this is the one that we don't have the camp out here too long, but from Zested Food, Christina. We've done collabs with them, another family, love their content. My kids love her videos. They're cooking videos for moms, but my kids love it. What advice do you have for someone who feels like they are doing all the things but not seeing results? What's happening there? I think when I work with creators like that, Christine, and I know your content, and I know you and your family well enough to know that you guys have been working hard on this. Like, this isn't like a couple of videos that's not working. This has been like a few years for you guys. When I get to that point, like I've been feeling even with video creators, it's kind of been generating the same results for the past few years. I feel like it's ready. Like it's time to start thinking about version 2.0 of Zested Food. And I think sometimes we as creators kind of like, we have this idea of this is what I love doing. And we get really good and comfortable and quick at making a certain style video. And I know you have lots of different styles, Christine. A lot of you other guys probably do too. But I think at some point it's like what we're doing right now is work to get us to where we're at. And it's not going to really help us get to the next level. And so that's part of the reason I've been focusing so hard on creator stories, that whole series, which you guys got episode 1 last week, and just like trying to go from level 2.0. And by the next level, I don't necessarily mean more expensive camera gear, although I know your husband would love that, Christine. I don't necessarily, he's got like a whole full out production studio. It was unreal. I'm not talking like higher production value, fancier editing. I'm talking about like, here's the value I'm trying to deliver, and this is how I've been delivering it. Keep the what you've been delivering the same and the why, but switch the how. So maybe there's a new approach, and I don't know what that is for you, but hopefully, Christine, that gives you and your husband some freedom maybe to like dream and be like, let's do something we've never thought of before, never done before. Can we just do like 5 to 10 of these, maybe 8 or something like that, of these videos? Just to one, like break us out of our own creative like rut that we're in. 2, give our audience something different. Like not even, you guys are gonna remember, not even like a television series lasts longer. Like a really good series will last 7 seasons of like 10 to 13 episodes each. So we're talking like what? I'm bad at doing math off the top of my head, but like 80-ish episodes over 7 years, and then people get bored. So for us to think that we can go years and years and years without changing things, I think is with like out upping our game is is not going to work. I love some of the creators who have been at the top of their game on YouTube for years, like Philip DeFranco, for example. Like I remember watching him back in 2008 or 9 or whenever it was, a very different format. And then it went to a different format and then a different, same value delivered to the same audience, but he doesn't stick with the same thing for more than like a year, 2 years, something like that. And I'm way overdue for that. And so Christine, I'm not I'd have to look at your channel again to kind of maybe get some other ideas for you, but just generally speaking, high level for the question, that's where I would go with that, is like give yourself the freedom to do whatever the next thing looks like for you. And it could be just different. It doesn't have to be a next level. Just keep experimenting and trying new things, and don't just kind of be like, I keep doing this thing and it's not working, and expecting different results. So anyway, let's go on to the next question. Sorry, Lennon, normally I would want you to. We got a lot of questions to tackle here. So how about I let you tackle this next one from Miggy Wiggy. What are the key elements of a highly clickable thumbnail? This is really important to getting people to watch your content in the first place. So what'd you say?
Yeah. Well, I would say that what we often think about, again, that question is, what's the problem that we're going to solve in this video? And how are we showing that problem as well as the solution and the transformation within the title and thumbnail all at the same time? So it is tricky to like get this just right. There's a few elements that I think about. Number one, we want to think about the title really delivering the value. Okay, so we talked about those functional values, so saving you time. So we might say something like 3 fast ways to lose belly fat, or whatever, something like that. So having that real value kind of front loaded, and also keeping that title really concise. Often we'll see people, they'll have the title be truncated or cut off at the end, and the real value is on the backside of the title and it never gets seen. And that's really unfortunate, right? So making sure that the value that you want to be seen to be at the front, and then also make sure that with the thumbnail that's delivering the actual story element. So the reason I think that we're seeing sort of a surgence in these like natural thumbnails more than like the cutout lines and all of that stuff is because people are looking for, can I tell see the story in action here right away?
We lose you?
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll just make sure that we're thinking about, if the thumbnail is delivering that story, make sure the image really portrays that. So if we're showing 3 easy ways to lose belly, maybe it shows somebody doing some sort of exercise. Like you actually see one of the ways that they're going to show that, or you show a before and after. So we're seeing that transformation start to happen, right? So I think that's really the keys, is keeping things nice and succinct, keep the value at the front of the thumbnail, make sure it's really clear what problem you're solving and how they'll be transformed by the time they're done watching the video.
Yeah. I love all the chats are like, oh no, FOMO, I'm missing out. What's he saying?
All the good stuff you guys missed.
Well, yeah, it was the thing that was going to make or break your channel this year. We'll get that fixed for next time. Let's see here. Tronics Fix asks a good question. I'll let you take this one. My community videos get a much smaller percentage of views than my discoverable videos, and I feel like I should make more discoverable content, but I do understand that it's important to make videos focus on my community, just not sure what the ratio should be. I want to keep growing fast, but not do too much of the same type of video. So what kind of ratio would you recommend?
We talk about this typically. Let's say if we're talking discoverable community sales videos, we would say, depending on your goals, right? If your goal is to really grow the channel more, then I would say 2 discoverable, 1 community, and 1 sales video a month. If you're releasing 1 video a week, right? If your goal is to really draw your community in, you might flip that and do 2 community, 1 discoverable, 1 sales. Or if you're not even trying to do sales, split it, right? So think about your goals and what you're trying to do. And once you know what your goals are and what you're trying to achieve, then you can kind of make the ratio up based on what you're wanting to get from it.
Yeah. I'm glad that you are not ignoring the community content, because a lot of people just think that the goal of every video should be discoverable. And while there is a valuable place for that, I think like you need to not just get people in, but you need to engage them and get them to start engaging with you as well. So the goal of every video is not just to get 1 million views and generate a lot of sales and go big on Reddit and get super viral and lots of them, get you like not all the things all at once. So Boomer Benefits asks, our demo is seniors. How can we figure out the style of thumbnail that works best for seniors? I'm not sure if it's high school seniors or senior citizens, but I'm guessing senior citizens. I don't know. I mean, the only way I would know that is to test it and figure it out. I don't know if I haven't done any research on like a specific audience like the seniors in terms of what responds well to them. I guess the way I would start by doing the research is looking at other content on YouTube that appears to be reaching that audience and see what they all have in common. But I haven't had anything stand out to me that like seniors respond to thumbnails way differently than like a 45-year-old or anything like that. So not sure that's helpful, but
yeah, I think the way I think any of us would approach it if we were doing this in a consult or like as a one-on-one client is you'd have to test. I just don't think there's really any other option, right? You just gotta.
Yeah. And the way you test is you try some for like 4 or 5, 8, 10 videos, and then put them in a group in your YouTube analytics. That's a feature in there that you can use in your groups. Make one group and title it like thumbnails with old faces. I don't know. And then make another group and make it like another 10 different thumbnails and make it videos with young faces. I don't know. And then you use the compare to feature in your analytics to kind of compare those two groups side by side and see how they're performing. Question from 8.5. Lennon, what other platforms do you use to increase subscribers? What do we don't really talk about that here too much. What would you say to that question when he comes back from being frozen?
You talking about the other platforms to increase subscribers?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I think it's really hard to get people from another platform over to another platform. I just think that's difficult. I think we encourage people to remind themselves that there are over 3 billion monthly active users on YouTube. So there is no shortage of being discovered. But if you can get your diehards over from another platform, then, go for it. I wouldn't say that it's totally fine to promote your stuff on other platforms. I just wouldn't expect to get a big increase because of another platform.
Yeah, the way we look at it here, video creators, is if you are reaching a couple billion people a month, then you can start looking elsewhere. But there's already so many people on YouTube that have yet to be tapped. The issue isn't like, man, I've exhausted my audience on YouTube. Explosive growth comes from like homepage and suggested videos and things on YouTube. It's not from like, I posted this on Tumblr and it took off, or Reddit or something like that. Niels Kemp Creative. I'm halfway to 10,000 subscribers on my photography channel. Do you have any tips on finding time between my day job and family for making more videos? Oh, Lennon. Yeah, I bet sure you got a lot on that. What would you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I would think of is what are your options for resources? So think about, are there things that you can delegate? Can you hire somebody to help you? And while I know that seems very daunting and scary, maybe you can't, like some people are like, well, I can't afford to do that. Well, if you want to do this, like maybe you can't afford not to do it. Maybe you just need to try to find somebody to help. The other thing I would think about is I'm also like blocking out my time and am just wide open communication when I'm chatting about how to, whether she's working on growing her own audience, I'm working on growing my audience, and my wife is working on growing hers. So we're just talking to each other saying, do you mind if I have some time here? And we're just really intentional about today's a family day, and tomorrow's a work day. And we just block the calendar in that way. And I just juggle the time between video creators and my own personal stuff, and this block out the time and make sure that I'm really diligent about, each place has its own time frame.
Yeah, same thing with me. I've just gotta I schedule it. I talk with my family. They know when it's coming, and it happens, during those times. So, let's hit up a few more here. We're gonna kind of maybe do like a rapid fire session here with you guys. Niels Kemp Creative. I'm halfway to 10,000. Oh no, I just did that one. Sorry. Meet the family. If I make 20-minute videos and my analytics is showing that my viewers are watching the videos for about 5 to 10 minutes, should I cut my videos to 7 to 10 minutes according to analytics instead of making 20-minute videos? I'd say real quickly, Meet the family, that the issue isn't how long are your videos. The better question is how well can you hold someone's attention? If you can, so right now you're holding someone's attention from 5 to 7 minutes. So the question is, how do I develop my skills to now develop content that will hold people's attention for 20 minutes? And so it's a little less about the duration of the content and more about that skill. So a 20-minute video, don't make it 20 minutes just because someone told you it has to be at least 20 minutes in order to grow on YouTube. There was a time when everyone was saying you can't make a video any longer than 2 minutes on YouTube. So forget all that. It changes and it's not even true. It was a time when people only knew how to hold someone's attention for 2 minutes on YouTube. But that as more people get those skills of holding people's attention for longer periods of time, the duration has increased. So don't look at the result. Look at the thing, the skill that you need to have to get there. Yo Soy Louie says, how do you grow when there are way more popular channels in your niche? The thing I would focus on is making yourself different so you're not just blending in. And whether that be from a production or value delivery standpoint, typically the easiest way to do that is to make your content revolve around some sort of unique belief or creed of some kind. You have a special unique story that sets up a context in a different way. But the strongest communities, online and offline, they don't revolve around niches and interests. They revolve around shared beliefs. So adding something about why you believe this matters will separate you a little bit and then make people hey, I like this niche and I liked Yo Soy Louie because I love what his stance on it is. You get this next one here, Lennon. Lightning Lucas Music. Hey, Lennon. I'm an aspiring YouTube musician putting out a new song every Friday. I'm almost at 100 subscribers. Not sure what my ideal audience member wants and needs. Any ideas?
Yeah, I think the beautiful part here is that you kind of get to decide. You're creating your ideal audience member and then creating content in order to reach them. So what I would first think about is what else might you want to bring to somebody? What are your songs about? Can you talk about lyrical content and inspiration and your process? And, if your ideal audience member is just a lover of music, what other kinds of music do they like? Can you talk about other artists that you draw inspiration from that they might relate to? Just be specific and don't get too caught up in what you feel like somebody might want. You get to make up the rules. That's the cool part about this.
Absolutely. Cool. Creatively inspired by Denise. I love my content that I have created. But how do I get other people to see my stuff? I feel like I am a P in the YouTube world and not being seen. This is a big topic. Obviously, we could have hours and hours of discussion of this very thing, and we have. But my very quick summary is you need to look at your title and thumbnail and ask, is someone in my target audience click on that? Yes or no? And I know that you think that the answer must obviously be yes, but apparently the correct answer is no. So I don't say that to be mean or critical. Instead, I want to just challenge you to maybe come back and reconsider who your target audience is. get a little bit more specific, narrow in that person's story so that you can start creating titles, thumbnails, and content that really resonates with them. I know like a lot of people focus on the algorithm, say YouTube algorithms are like holding me back. And as we've said, I have never really seen that be the case. The algorithm's job is to surface content that people want to see. It's just technically it's to surface the right video to the right person at the right time. And if your videos aren't the ones being surfaced, then it's not the right video, or there's not a right person, or there's not a right time. So some of those you can control, like person. And that's really what it comes down to. Like if we really want to dominate on YouTube, it's not about optimizing for robots and algorithms. The robots and algorithms are designed to surface content that people are responding to. That's their job. They're not trying to hold anyone's back. They're actually trying to look for that content and promote the videos that are doing it well. So if your video is not being surfaced, that just means that it's not doing it as well as someone else's video is doing for some other person. So I don't want to deflate you and discourage you, but I also want to maybe like encourage you to kind of like, okay, like don't just assume we're doing everything right here. How do I go to like the next level with this? How do I get to know my audience more intimately? How do I communicate my branding, my value proposition more clearly to this first-time viewer so that they get it immediately and don't bounce right away? Titles, thumbnails, all that kind of stuff. So if you guys want to dive into this more deeply with Lennon and I for the next like 8 weeks, we are both leading, and another strategist, Elena, on our team. The three of us are all leading video labs groups for starting. Well, for me, my first session is tomorrow. So if you want to sign up to do it with me, you have to sign up today. Otherwise, it closes. I still have a few spots left in mine. Delena's is all sold out. And Lennon, as of before we started recording, had 2 spots left with him. So what Video Labs is this an 8-week process that you go through, an experience that you go through, guided personally by either Lennon or myself, depending on whose group you sign up with. And we limit each group to only 20 creators because it's very hands-on with us. It's not like, here, you're paying access to some premium content. Good luck. You're getting the premium content, but then you're also doing weekly challenges and doing assignments on your channel to help you start implementing what you've learned. And then you're interacting with those other 20 creators in a private online community where Lennon and I are both active and engaging too. And then you get into a video group with us once a week. For me, it's every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. Lennon's, yours are Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern time, I believe. Is that right?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so we get into a small group together, and then we just answer questions. We talk with you personally, make sure you're applying this to your channel, to your audience, to your roadblocks, to your issues, to your goals and your dreams and everything that you have for your channel. And the results that creators get at the end of this, like, it is hard work. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, you're not going to come in and just learn some things and be like, woo, that was nice. See ya. No, you're like, we're working really hard. I would recommend that you don't sign up unless you have at least 5 hours a week to give to this process. Some weeks will take a little bit closer to 8 hours. So if you want to do hard work, but know that it's the right work done in the right way, in the right order to achieve the right results. If you don't want to waste your time on things that you don't know if they're actually working or not, Video Labs is the process for you. It's 8 weeks long. We take you through everything from setting up your channel to be discoverable, to talking about how to get your videos ranking in search and suggested and homepage, everything to how to read your analytics, how to like increase the storytelling value on your channel. We talk about how to set up your brand for people to quickly, immediately understand who you are, what you're all about, and fall in love with it so that they want to watch. I could give you so many stories, and Lennon could too. He's been leading these for a little while now. He's led several sessions about like when you go through the right process in the right way, guided by either Lennon or myself, who can really help you get those results. The results have been outstanding, amazing. Like to see people like Mike in our last session, who was like worked really hard for 6 months to get 200 something subscribers, and then by the end of Video Labs, he was almost at 800 subscribers. Like in a couple of weeks, he just took off and still growing. We had like Brian and Aaron who went through it about last year, and they messaged me a couple of weeks ago and said, "Hey Tim, I saw you're promoting Video Labs again. Just want to give you an update on where we're at with it. Like our growth is still stuck at 999 plus % growth, like on everything. It's like, it has been that way since we graduated from Video Labs, just going like, and I'm like, I had like, that is growth as literally off the charts, like for a whole year. Like, I don't know how you keep doing that. but they're doing it, and I want you guys to experience that too, so that you're not spinning your wheels, you're not in the hamster wheel, but you're actually getting the results and moving forward with it. So Lennon's got 2 spots left. I have like 5 or 6 spots left. I don't remember, something like that, in my session. So go check it out. Link it down below, to go to videocreators.com/videolabs. If by the time you hear this and they're already sold out, I would encourage you instead just to sign up for a one-on-one consultation with either myself or with Lennon. Those links, we share the same consulting page for our company for video creators, so you can find that down there as well. And we would love to just give you like an hour of our time, sit in, like, just, we want you to walk away from that hour just mind blown of like, okay, I got the next steps I need to really work on in order to take this to the next level. So either one, looking forward to doing that with you guys. Welcome, Coach John F. Nayenhouse Jr. for becoming a supporter of the channel. Appreciate you making all this possible. And yeah, guys, we're super excited to hang out with you in Video Labs and get to know you. But in the meantime, even if Video Labs isn't right for you right now, we're really looking forward to continuing to give you more value in these live streams and podcasts every week going forward. We got new content to help you guys do that. So thank you guys for hanging out. And you will see Lennon and I again soon. And then Delana and I at some point, and other strategists and people from my team are going to be here more regularly with you guys in 2020. So looking forward to doing that.
One of these years.
One of these years. What year are we in? Yeah. So thank you guys for hanging out. Keep reaching people, changing their lives. And I'll see you guys again next week for another Video Creators podcast episode. See you guys then. Bye.
What?